Hey everyone, it's Emily Fox. Today's video is going to be a recommendation video of books I did not love. I know, bear with me. I feel like sometimes we're so focused on books that you gave 5 stars to, that made it to your best at the end of the year, that we tend to not talk about the other ones. I feel like sometimes the premise was really interesting, or maybe I loved the writing style or something, but the book didn't quite make it to the best of the best, so you just forget about them. So I went back to my Goodreads list of the books that I've read, and I wanted to talk about books I gave 3 stars-ish to, and just talk about them, recommend the ones that I feel like other people might love, even though maybe they weren't my favorites. Does that make sense? I also try to focus on books that aren't the most popular ones on Booktube. So for example, I didn't include Every Heart Doorway by Shauna Marie, for example, or The Diviners by Lili O Varela. So those would be like great examples that most people know about. So let's go through my list. I think I have actually about 10, which when do you actually get a top 10? By the way, if that's something that you like, thumbs up and definitely let me know in the comment section. I'm trying to like find different ways to do recommendation videos of like less known books, so I feel like this is a good way to do it. So the first one I wanted to mention is something you have probably heard the name of / watched the movie, but for sure you have not read the book, and it is I Am Legend by Richard Matheson. I love the movie with Will Smith, like loved it, but I always felt like the title didn't make sense, and you learn why I'm here. The ending definitely explains it finally, and it was great. It has 159 pages, so it's like novella-ish, I guess, so it's a quick read. It is definitely way darker than the movie, and it's probably why, like, it took me by surprise, like sexually weird dark stuff too, which I didn't really expect. I still think it's a great story to read, and I feel like a lot of people would enjoy it. Just again, be prepared for some of these things. But yes, if you want to compare the movie to the book, which is something I do enjoy doing, I would definitely recommend more people check it out, because again, I don't feel like I see a lot of people on Booktube reading it. And again, the title finally makes sense, which... Another book that I find is a bit more underrated in that genre on Booktube is Fruit Witch by Susan Dennard. This is a YA fantasy series that I feel like doesn't get as much love as it should. I personally really enjoyed the first book. I didn't give it 5 stars for a few reasons, but I still overall really enjoyed it. I do have actually more books in that series on my shelf I really need to get to. It's one of those books that I feel like I keep telling myself that, but I never do it, so Emily, come on. One of the things I really enjoy is the fact that the two main female characters have a really great friendship, which that's good. And I really love the magic system, like really loved it. I feel like it's quite unique. Different characters have like very different kind of magic. One of them, a true witch, you can kind of tell whenever people are lying. There's another one, I believe she can tell the kind of relationship between people. And there's just a bunch of really interesting kind of magic. My main issues, first off, I was told there were no romance in here, and they're definitely a really cringy one that happens towards the end, so that was more of a like I expected something, didn't happen quite like it, so that's not really the book's fault. And just overall a few little things that I find more common in YA books, so not really a big deal. I still overall really enjoyed it. I think I gave it like 3.75 or something, so it's not a bad rating for me. It's just that again, I kind of feel like it deserves more love and to be recommended more on Booktube, so here I am. And again, note to self, continue the damn series. Plus, I'm always saying that I want to read more books about like witches and magic, so like, dude. I wanted to recommend 2 books by the same author, because why not? I feel like during this time of the year, that's when I start reading more mystery thrillers, and I have 2 for you that are actually great summer read, especially this one. This is The Last House Guest by Megan Miranda, and another book that I read by her that I also recommend is All the Missing Girls, which one of the things she does really great is that she plays with timelines. Like in this one, basically the story is told backward, and this one there's back and forth between 2 or 3 years. So let's start with this one. This is the first one that I read. It starts, how many days? It's about 2 weeks after someone went missing again, like years later, and you're told backward the story, which again, I don't want to say too much because it's a mystery, right? So interesting. I did overall really enjoy it. And then I have this one that I was saying that right now is like the perfect time to read it, The Last House Guest, because it happens in a small beach town, which summer, right? It goes back and forth between summer 2017 and 2018. So I do highly recommend it too. Both of them, I feel like mystery thrillers, it's hard to like explain sometimes why you didn't give it 5 stars, but I still think they are good enough to be recommended. I did personally enjoy them. And again, I don't see them quite often, and they don't have my main my main complaints usually, you know, domestic thrillers. I've been complaining about them a lot. So there's no like mom that is an alcoholic that went into coma or something. So if you're looking for something just fun to go through quite fast, I do recommend both of these. Another book that I thought the premise was really interesting, which is a great way to make me want to read your book, and it is The Last Policeman by Ben H. Winters. This one, the execution, wasn't my favorite. It's actually a trilogy. I did read the whole trilogy. But again, the premise though. You're following humanity. We have found a asteroid that is coming for Earth. I'm trying to figure out the first book. I think you have 6 months left. Yes, 6 months before impact. But you're following this man who decides that there's this suspicious death that he thinks is a murder, not a suicide. And he's like really wanting to like solve it before, you know, the 6 months is up. Well, humanity is going into pure chaos. So I do feel like between the whole trilogy, the first book was the most solid one. And again, I think it's a really interesting premise. The execution, again, wasn't my favorite. I would actually be curious to hear if anyone else has read it, because I feel like I haven't seen anyone talk about it. But yes, very intriguing premise. Do think it's worth it to read it if you are into it, but things went in a very different direction than I expected. Ooh, the next one, I have seen it on Booktube, but I feel like you don't hear about it a lot, and it is The Rest of Us Just Live Here by Patrick Ness. I feel like this author writes a lot of really great YA books that are mentioned because his writing is just... but this one, the premise was really interesting. I feel like you're always following books where you follow the heroes, right? They're like the main focus because that's what we should usually care about. But this book is kind of the opposite. There's the heroes, you know, saving the world, and you're following the other people that just live there. Or so it seems like at first, which is kind of why I didn't give it 5 stars. I feel like some of these characters are more hero-like than they should have been to really, you know, but at the same time I kind of understand that it might be a little bit more boring if you're not following the heroes, but whatever. I still think it's an interesting premise and interesting on the whole take of like the hero people, and it was fun to, you know, have read type of thing, like checking that box. But it didn't get 5 stars, but I still think it would be fun to recommend it because, again, that premise though. I feel like we've all thought about it, you know? What about the other people? Like, they have to like suffer the consequences of people saving the world and just not caring about what they do, the whole village or the whole city, you know what I mean? So, yeah. I have mentioned this book in the past, but I still think it deserves more love because, again, the premise, and it is 6 Weeks, which is a sci-fi, but kind of murder mystery in space, which, come on. In this universe, people can kind of save their memory, and then if something happens to them, their memory is just implanted in like a clone type of thing. And a group of people that are in a spaceship have all died and wake up in a new body, and they're like, oh, like what happened? Who killed all of us? And they don't know because obviously if you've been murdered, you haven't been able to, you know, save your memory. So it's really interesting to like kind of see how they're going to solve it. It didn't get quite 5 stars, but I still think it's a very intriguing premise. I feel like a lot of people would enjoy reading it. And I believe I included this in like my beginner's guide to sci-fi for people that like murder mystery and want to try to, you know, get into sci-fi. So definitely do recommend it. It's definitely different. Another book I wanted to mention is actually a novella by Sylvain Nebel, which is The Test. I feel like whenever one day I do video recommendation, like if you like Black Mirror, you should read these books. It will be in there for sure. In this one, it's like a dystopian version of our world where people that want to become a citizen, in this specific case, a UK citizen, they have to pass a test. The test isn't actually quite what they expect, and things get kind of dark. And yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that because it's a very short book. It has 112 pages, so really, you know, any more info will be a spoiler. But yes, I thought it was interesting. I don't feel like I've heard a lot of people talk about it. Personally, the ending wasn't exactly what I wished, but I still think it's worth it. / again, if you are someone that enjoyed Black Mirror, read this book. Last but not least, I wanted to include a nonfiction because I feel like they deserve more love on Booktube, and it is Brain on Fire, My Month of Madness. Basically, it's the story, true story of the author, and she got really sick really fast and couldn't figure out what happened, and you're just following her through her recovery, trying to figure out what happened and everything. And I do think it's really interesting. Personally, I feel like it's a short book. I got rid of the copy. It's like 266 pages. My only complaint was the fact that I found it almost repetitive. For a short book, that's not really a good thing, I feel like. it could have been edited a little bit better. However, again, still very interesting. I know a lot of people like these type of stories, so if you still haven't read it, I definitely recommend you do so. It's about 10. I don't do that often. Damn, okay. So that's gonna be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, let me know if that's something that you want to see more often. If you have any book that actually you thought more people would enjoy, even though you personally didn't give them 5 stars, please list them in the comment section so we can look at them. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will be putting more videos on the screen that I recommend you check out. And I shall see you in my next video very soon. Bye.